After a week of a few more polytunnel dramas, this week it's time for part two, and we're going to get inside and sort out the rest. Having spent quite a considerable amount of time and effort in getting the outside of this polytunnel all sorted and anchored in, unfortunately this week there has been a bit of a disaster, and actually it was quite timely because we did have some really high winds, and this is when I discovered that this polytunnel cover was going to take off again. So massive thanks to my allotment neighbours who made me aware of this and actually helped me to anchor it down again. Now it has meant that I've had to do something which I didn't really want to do, and that was to put battens attached to the actual polytunnel frame, staple gun the cover to that, and then put battens screwed into place over the top. Now the reason I actually wanted to avoid doing that is I may as well have just bought myself a nice polytunnel cover, which is one of those clear film ones, because that's the kind of thing that you would have to do with those. So I'm hoping that additional measure means that this is not going to take off. However, this week for part two, it is sorting out the inside of this polytunnel. Now, because I'd had flooding down here, the actual cover had broken as well, I have neglected this space massively this year, and the weeds had completely taken over, and it means that I need to sort this out. Now, because of the flooding, I needed to actually raise the levels inside here, despite the fact that counterintuitively I had to dig down 30 centimeters to get this cover on and in place in the first place. So what I've done is I've actually got these pallet collars. Now these are a lot narrower than the ones that I would normally have, which means that I did have quite a bit of space in between as sort of like a path in the middle. Now I wasn't too happy with that because actually it's wasted growing space, so I have had a little bit of a reconfigure in here by having some of the beds sideways, and actually it means I can get to them a lot easier. However, because I sort of neglected this space, the couch grass and the vineweed has completely taken over. Now I've managed to clear underneath where I've put the path, and I've actually put wood chip down over the top of that. But now I need to get all of these roots out of these beds. They are going to be no dig, but I know from experience, even with no dig beds, that couch grass and vineweed will either work its way through the cardboard and the compost, or it will actually come out the sides where there isn't the actual no dig bed. So I've got a bit of work to do. Now there's quite a lot, as you can see, which is already quite long, which is on the surface where I've already started clearing. However, if I dig down, you'll soon see that there's an awful lot more that really does need to come out. So I'm going to get on with clearing that in all of these bed areas before I can get on to the next stage, which is sorting out the no dig beds. So, stating the absolute obvious, it is hot in here and it is really, really hot work. Now, so far I've actually managed to fill up 6 of my beds. I still have 3 more to do, but I have run out of cardboard, and I do still need to get the couch grass up out of those beds as well. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break, and having no cardboard has actually given me the chance to do that. Now obviously I have gone no dig with these beds, and I have had to fill up these beds as high as possible, and these sort of just under 1 by 2 meter beds have taken about 4 bags of 50-litre compost. Now ideally what I would like to have done, and I may still do that with the other beds in here, is sort of do a bit of a combination of no dig and hygge couture, which is basically where you're putting some of your organic matter at the bottom of your bed, then your cardboard, and then your compost. And the reason for that is because as that organic material really starts to biodegrade, it creates more heat, and obviously in a polytunnel, today being the exception because it's already really warm, we want to sustain that heat, although the heat of the day will be retained within this polytunnel for those cooler nights that we're going to get at this time of year. So now all I need to do is actually start getting some of my seedlings and my veggies in these, and I'm just so excited to be able to get some things growing in this polytunnel again, which has really been neglected for nearly a year. And quite frankly, if you have couch grass in any of your areas, here's a bit of advice: don't turn your back on it because it will go mad. But for now, polytunnel is back in action, and these, my pak choys and my keltus, are going to be the first ones to go back into these beds.